Stephanie Baker from Life in Abundance Counseling Ministry is along with us. And here's a thought. So it's like 2021 is going to be here. It's like a snap of a finger. And most people are like, I want it to be so new and fresh. We need this. But listen, it's not going to change in a blink of an eye, right? So help us through this, Stephanie.
Right.
Well, and when we talked before Thanksgiving, we used the term, I think, as best I can recall, romanticizing. And I brought up the movie that was Chevy Chase in Christmas Vacation, and he had all of these expectations and was so disappointed when every one of them fell apart. And so I think talking about not romanticizing 2021 is probably a good thing. Romanticizing means that it's going to be perfect, and nothing that gave us any angst in 2020 is going to follow us into 2021. And that's just not realistic. That's not our reality. Just because the calendar moves us into another year doesn't mean that all things are going to be familiar again and what we would consider to be back to normal. It doesn't erase what's currently going on and make everything okay. So I think it's important that we think about being realistic in what we're expecting, but also even for the Christmas holiday that's coming up.
Yeah. So how do we manage that kind of expectation?
Well, I think it's important that we understand, first of all, what an expectation is, and that is our thought about how something should be. And when we think about what something should be, typically that leads us to a personal judgment. And our personal judgment is about how we think things should be, how other people should behave, what our circumstances should look like. And the reality is, with those things, we don't always have control over anything but our responses. So I think it's important to balance hope right now with reality. And if we talk about hope, what we talk about is the idea that our hope is not in man. Our hope is in God, right? And so when we look at what Scripture has to tell us, the Lord says He's our hope. He offers us both a hope and a future. And we don't always know ahead of time what He's doing, and we can't always see in the moment what He's doing, but we can be assured, as the song says, that He is always working. Even when I don't feel it, He's working. Even when I don't see it, He's working. When we look at the definition of faith, or it says faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. Mm-hmm. I think it's important that we remember too that challenges in Romans 5:4, challenges produce endurance. Endurance produces character, and then character produces hope. And I have a very dear friend of mine who said several weeks ago, Stephanie, we just don't jump from endurance to hope. It's a process. And I agree with her. I think it is a process. So I think recognizing that it is a process, but understanding that there is hope no matter what things look like around us. There's hope in what the Lord tells us that He's doing.
Stephanie Baker along with us from Life in Abundance Counseling Ministry, talking about heading into the new year. Resolutions is always a big thing.
Yes, and I think I wrote in something that I believe there's a graveyard where resolutions go to die every year. And so why would I feel that way? Because resolutions suggest that there's just something that's broken, and in one fell swoop we're going to fix whatever it is that's broken. And it doesn't really work that way. I can say I want to lose weight or I want to get a new job, and it doesn't just mean that that's going to happen. So resolutions, understanding the difference between resolutions, goals, and vows, I think are really important for all of us right now. So a resolution is just a sweeping statement. I'm going to do X, Y, or Z. With no plan, no process. And actually, it's an expectation, which we just talked about expectations. And when our expectations don't happen, then we can tend to get really frustrated. The more frustrated we are is determined by how much buy-in we had to whatever that expectation is that didn't happen. A goal is a statement of what we want to attain with a plan of how to attain it. Most of you, or many of you, have probably heard of SMART goals, right? Our goals are specific and need to be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time defined. So we have a plan of how we're going to achieve those things. And then vows. This is very different. Vows come from trauma. Or we make many vows when we experience trauma. And I believe many of us have had trauma this year, whether it be in the loss of a loved one, our business challenges, our challenges with our families. Vows are typically made in the midst of trauma, and they sound something like, I will never, or no one will ever, or I will always. And so the problem with vows is that they are almost always impossible to keep, because I can't be in complete control of other people, or my circumstances, or God for that matter. And so we want to understand the two of them. And when we're thinking about 2021 and going into it, I think it's a wonderful idea to talk about goals.
Yeah, and when we go into 2021, and let's say that we don't reach that goal in the year, or we break that vow or that resolution, how can we get through that process?
I think also having grace for ourselves and for other people. Even if I wrote a goal and had steps with what goes on in 2021, if 2020 has been any indication of the need for flexibility, understanding that things may change. We've all experienced it. And so I think it's maintaining the course as best we can in any given situation, but having an idea of where the destination is that we're headed for whatever the subject matter is, be it personal health, be it business, be it, homeschooling, whatever it is, right? Having that destination in mind, but being flexible, having plans, but holding them kind of loosely, being flexible.
Stephanie Baker from Life in Abundance Counseling Ministry. Thank you so much. I hope you have a phenomenal new year. What are you going to do in the new year, by the way?
Oh, gosh. I'm looking forward to some much needed time off here. My team and I, that'll be for a couple of weeks. And then when my team and I return, we have some events that are kicking off here within the ministry, and we're looking forward to that. I'm just excited to see what God has in the new year again, because our future and hope doesn't come from man. It comes from him.
That's
right. I'm
right.
excited to see what he has. I have seen the goodness of the Lord in 2020. Even in 2020, I have seen the goodness of the Lord, and I don't expect that I'm going to stop seeing that anytime soon.
No, we don't either. Stephanie, thank you so much. If you want to see any of this, we'll have it for you on the video replay. That's on Apple TV, Roku, HISRadio.com, and the My His Radio app. The blog is up already, so you'll be able to access the blog of everything that Stephanie was just mentioning.
His Morning Crew.
I'm sure you have this routine where you wake up at the same time. Maybe you hit snooze, I don't know, a couple of dozen times before your feet hit the ground. I have to get my feet on the ground quickly when the alarm clock goes off, or I just stay asleep. But I was reading about Dolly Parton, who's been in the news for the past, couple of months?
She's everywhere, saving people's lives. She's got gingerbread houses at Williams-Sonoma. She's everywhere.
I know. Christmas specials, all that stuff. Well, she was talking about her routine. She gets up at 3 a.m, and she says she gets her best work done between 3 and 7 o'clock. But she starts her day, and this is so great that she made it a point to say this, I start my day at 3 a.m. praying. And she says this as the start of her prayer every single time. She thanks God for the night. She asks God to bring the right people into her day and to take the wrong people out of her life. Whew, that speaks volumes.
That's huge.
I know, right? And then she makes herself up after she gets all this work done. So she does get the makeup. She says, I like to stay ready. So I'm always put together. And she has, for the past 57 years, every day that she's at home, makes breakfast for her and her husband. And she also says this, it's not healthy.
He's like, I don't want the healthy stuff. We've been married all these years, but I love, because I bet she makes herself up before he gets out of bed.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure.
And maintenance for Dolly, I mean, beautiful woman, but she's got a lot going on. I know the maintenance from myself. It's going to take a minute.
I know the maintenance for myself. And it takes a second.
Rob and Liz.
His Morning Crew.
It looks like, if you've seen the news, that the FDA just approved an over-the-counter home COVID test kit, and it even integrates with your cell phone. So it's got like a smart app with it and Bluetooth and all this other stuff, and you're supposed to have, within 20 minutes, it's roughly 96% accurate and costs like $30 or something like that once it's out in January.
So it's only $30, takes 20 minutes. Sign me up. I mean, if I need a test, that seems like the way to go, huh?
My wife went in like a 3-hour line one time in cars when they're doing some of those free tests, and it was at some school somewhere. I can't remember. This is early on in this whole pandemic thing, but it was 3 hours. Now it's like right at home, if this thing really works. Some company out in Australia called Illume that's putting this whole thing together.
Well, I think all of us will be happy about this. I had heard about some home tests that were in the hundreds of dollars range. So if they brought that cost down, down to $30, because from what I understand, I have only taken one test. That was a while back. My daughter, because she's in healthcare, she's taken multiple tests. So yeah, keeping costs down, that's the way to go.
I hear that some of the healthcare workers do it once a week. Is that what she does?
She is not doing once a week, but it is fairly often. I want to say they're doing it at least once a month.
Healthcare workers, you are our heroes.
Rob and Liz.
His morning crew.
This flotation device, that's not a flotation device. It's not your normal life preserver. It's it helps people overcome fear of being in the water and swimming and all that other stuff. So it's like a wetsuit with a flotation device strapped inside it. And it's like, oh, I can swim with this thing. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. And so what is your fear? Because that's what we want to know. So we were asking around the room.
Well, what I'm curious of, you probably have a fear, but how have you overcome a fear?
Oh, yeah.
How have you overcome a fear? Liz has one of roller coasters. She hasn't overcome that just yet.
No.
Yeah.
And I don't
Is
think
it
I
height?
want to.
Is it heights?
No, not at all, because I've rappelled off buildings.
Oh, yeah, that's
I've done
true.
balloon, hot air balloons. It's not I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Huh.
I don't like the feeling in the tummy. Maybe it's the being out of control thing. I don't know.
Yeah. Ian, who's one of our producers, is afraid of butterflies.
I'm afraid of all insects.
Nope. Butterflies.
So much so that butterflies creep me out too. Like I
Okay.
just have so
He
many.
runs
bad
from
experiences.
butterflies.
That's called lepidopterophobia.
Oh, you looked it up.
Bless you.
Okay. TJ says he has a fear of bees, so he doesn't like to be stung, evidently. Is it just bees? Is it like wasps or anything else?
Well, it's anything that can sting me.
So
but I'm slowly getting over that.
Yeah, it's really not bad. I've been stung a couple of times. It's not bad.
So you would be afraid of like scorpions or anything that could sting you, a fire ant, that kind of stuff.
Oh, no.
Oh, that's
No,
weird.
just things that can fly in my face and get all up in my face.
That's weird. Okay, what's
Yeah.
yours, Rob?
I've been racking my brain. I really can't think of a fear. Not afraid of heights. I'm an adrenaline junkie, so
Yeah.
I like to cycle up mountains, and I love to, go down really fast and around the curves and stuff like that. So I don't have a fear. I think one thing that if this would be a fear, I don't know, but I don't want to go to the grave thinking that I messed up what I was assigned to do on this planet. I want to make sure that I did it right with my kids. And I feel like the older kids, I could have done things different. All that other stuff.
Yeah,
So
a fear of regret.
I guess
in your
that
life.
could be.
But I think you've taken care of that.
I don't know.
I think so.
I don't know.
And we could all.
There are days I
pull-
look back.
Well, sure, but that's the point. We're not perfect. We don't have to be perfect.
Wait, what?
Yeah. That's the whole point
I'm
of
the
it.
furthest from perfect is perfect. I'm the definition of unperfect.
So
look
are
in
we
Webster.
all.
Look in Webster. You'll see Dempsey there. So anyway, how have you overcome a fear? You could probably name dozens of them, but what's one that you've overcome? Well, I would love to hear that story at 800-447-7234. It's Rob and Liz, His Radio.
Mornings with Rob and Liz.
There was something, and then you overcame it. So let's talk about that fear. It's Rob and Liz, His Morning Crew on His Radio.
Chris, he said he overcame his fear by bungee jumping.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, he said to overcome the fear of heights. He said it worked, but I don't really recommend it. You get slung around a little bit more than you think. He says one of the hardest things he ever did was actually to make that climb to a 220-foot platform.
And then did it.
And then jump.
Chris, that's amazing.
Yeah, and then
absolutely amazing.
Roy said my fear of not being accepted caused him to live in the shadows of addiction.
Oh, my.
But he overcame it. You know how he did that?
How?
God's grace.
All right, Roy.
12-step program helped him learn to surrender those fears.
Good for
completely
you.
To God, yeah.
Good for you. Angela's with us at 800-447-7234. That fear, and how'd you overcome it, Angela?
When I was very little, I really, really hated being afraid of things. I still do. I remember I lived in Colorado at the time, and we were going over a canyon that was about 1,000 feet deep. My parents were taking me across a bridge. I remember I was so scared. My heart was pounding like crazy. And so what I did was I stood at the edge of the bridge, and I walked looking down that 1,000-foot cavern as far as I could go until my heart stopped beating super fast. And that's actually how I overcame my fear of heights.
Really? You just faced it straight on.
And how old were you when you did that?
I was about 5 or 6. It was pretty early, and I've kind of had a habit of doing things like that since, jumping off of, waterfalls, things like that. I basically learned to shut my brain off and just go with it. I have a lot more fun that way, too.
Yeah, you do, don't you? Just take on that waterfall and go, woo!
I know, man. Well, fear holds you back in so many ways. I know I'm not enjoying the roller coasters. Ian's not enjoying the beauty of butterflies.
He's afraid of butterflies.
But, fear does hold you back in so many ways. So
yeah, and Liz doesn't know what she's missing when it comes to the roller coasters.
And I'm okay with that.
Rob and Liz.
His morning crew.
I love this one. Tanya said she had this fear of flying. She's still not real comfortable with it, but a little more at ease. And here's how she got through. Her grandchildren moved from Savannah to Arizona, and she had to go see them. So she jumped on a plane, and Grandma went to see those babies.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. That's how you overcome a fear like that.
Yeah, sometimes you
have to.
Forced into it,
You
and
have
that's
to.
okay.
Was there a lot of Benadryl?
I bet. Or some treats or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Lauren's along with us at 800-447-7234. What was that fear? How'd you overcome it?
Water, actually. Horrible, terrified of water, would have a panic attack. It was completely irrational. Like, I could be in a swimming pool and, have a panic attack that there was a shark or there was something in the water with me and I just couldn't see it. And when I hit teenage, what I used to do is I would literally just put myself in the water and close my eyes and sink to the bottom of it and open it up and just talk myself through it till I ran out of air and then come back up.
Good for you.
Wow.
I literally would just submerge myself and look at my surroundings and tell myself I am in a pool. I am perfectly safe. I am okay. I do the same thing now when I go to the ocean and stuff. As long as I can see through the water, I'm fine. When I go to the lake, if I feel like I can't see, I carry a flashlight in my car that I will actually take in the water with me. Sounds ridiculous, but I have not had a panic attack on water in years.
So how does that make you feel when you overcome it like that?
I felt good about it, but I felt even better that my kids are absolute water bugs and do not have a fear of water at all.
His morning crew.
Liz is in the know for you, and I think that you would want to be alerted to this fact that is happening with a certain type of cookie. It's Rob and Liz, His Morning Crew on His Radio.
This is kind of sad. We have a shortage. There's another shortage. This one's not toilet paper. It's not paper towels. This is a major shortage. Milano Cookies. We may not be able to find them on the shelves. Pepperidge Farm says there are going to be shortages of several different of their varieties, like Chessman and the Linzer cookie, but especially the Milano cookie. It's a sad day. Market Wednesday, December 16th. We may not be able to find Milano cookies. But so Campbell's Soup owns this company. They also said that goldfish and soup production is way up because of the pandemic, and there may be a shortage there as well.
With goldfish and soup?
Yeah. If I can't get split pea soup and Milano cookies, I don't know what to do.
Well, thankfully, the fruitcake is still around.